So we have to start. It's 3 o'clock here in Germany. I have to go south from Adam coming from Sweden. Now I'm here in Germany and it's 3 o'clock p.m. and 8 o'clock in US in Chicago. Unfortunately, I cannot be there. We are always online, so I have 2 sessions. The first one is today with OneDrive. I have some tips and tricks from the beginning to the past, a lot of slides, a little bit of demos, and we have to see what can be there. So my name is Brender, and I have to look for the stuff here. You see that you can have it. I'm an MVP since 9 years now, and I'm working as a cloud productivity evangelist. And you see, you can reach me on each social channel you want to have. The best way is to go into Twitter. That's the quickest one. I read all this stuff, and maybe sometimes I can help you, but not around the clock. But at the end, I will show you that will all be available if you want to have it right now, but that's at the end. So we have to say, okay, thank you, and that you are admitting that, and please join the Support Chicago Public School Funds. They will have a lot of that, and they will get some money, and therefore you have to look for there. And although I have to say thank you to all the sponsors. If you ever have done such an event like this, you want to know that's a lot of work, even if you have 3, 4, or 6, or 10 people, and without any sponsors, that will not be happen. So therefore, I have to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, the community partners you see on the right side, because with them, all these 750 people maybe we will have, and therefore we will see that. So that's the beginning, and I have to start with the next one. That means, okay, here's the agenda for the next 50 minutes. OneDrive philosophy, we start, then a little bit about architecture and thinking, some issues and some critical numbers, a little bit about OneDrive sync health and expiring external access, and end up with a summary. That's the agenda for the next hour. So, you know, it's easy to have OneDrive in 6 steps, navigate to Office 365, sign in, click on OneDrive, click on the Think button, and then yes, yes, no, yes, in that order, done. But that's not all what we have to say. We have to do it a little bit different. And we have to say OneDrive is not a network drive. So it's different about that. OneDrive is also not a shared drive. And it's not only a simple storage in the cloud. It's more. And it's not just as fast as a network drive. Yes, you have to remember all the way wherever you are on the planet and what connection you will have. And it's not suitable for all data types, not all data types. Be careful about PST and so on stuff, therefore not for all data types. And it's not like Dropbox, Box, or any cloud storage. So that's a different about what is OneDrive. OneDrive provides offline capability, not only in Windows. Now they have it also in Mac OS and other things. That means you can have that offline capability. And that is very interesting. Your network drive will not work. And therefore, this will come. It contains metadata, like history data. If you write a document and you see the document in there, you have to know that's not only the first version. If you change something, you have a next version. You can go back also in the version. And there are some other metadata history data, like history data, from SharePoint. It's automatically. But OneDrive is all a brand. So sometimes Microsoft has to say, hey, that's OneDrive, and they mean OneDrive for Business. And that's OneDrive Personal, because that's a consumer version. That's 2 different parts, but with the same sync engine. It's a brand. And sometimes you don't know. People or users have a possibility. Hey, is that OneDrive or OneDrive for Business? There is standing OneDrive. No, it's OneDrive for Business, and vice versa. So you have to know what is working where. It's a brand, and it's a sync technology. That means it will sync your stuff to the cloud, and from the cloud to your device, to your devices, whatever you want. That's a sync technology. And it's although OneDrive for Business and OneDrive Personal or OneDrive Consumer. And both are the basis for collaboration. So that means if you want to work with more than one people together at the same time, you have to use OneDrive. That's the best thing what you can do, and it will work not always during the pandemic times in the perfect order, but you have to look if you try it in the browser and Word or PowerPoint in the browser, it will work perfectly. Therefore, connect with the other people and say, okay, we want to do it working together. And that doesn't mean, hey, I need your Excel cell, what I have to see. Though they have to prepare the documents and this to work together in this one. But the architecture is typical on your machine, on a Windows machine. It runs normally in the user context. Even you can have it also inside as a machine context. That means if there are more than one people are working with the machine, it's a better one that you have only one OneDrive running on the machine. It's available in 113 different languages. Yes, all languages with all errors or something will come in your language, what you ever want to have. And sometimes you have to know there are several things. Means it's one engine, but several instances of the engine can point to several cloud sync possibilities. It's selective sync. That means you can say, I want to have this one on this one. And therefore, you have to look about that. It's enterprise ready. Enterprise ready means, yes, you have some crew policies, and we will talk about this one later. It's self-updating, means you will have automatically always the sync engine you have to, because it's different. There are three possibilities, and you will have it what the administrator gives you, or you decide if you are a small company or a simple user what you have to do. So that's the thing. It will self-update each day in the morning. It will look, it's a new version for me there, and will install it automatically. Syncs only with Office 365 and SharePoint 2019 on-premise, so therefore you have to know about that. On the right side, you see that at the end, it will go to a blob storage in Microsoft Azure at the end, but different we have there. So that's the thing we have there. And that means we have to look what's happened. Synchronization is easy. It comes in the early days for SharePoint Server on-premises version 2077, 2010, 2013, 2016. And that is the old Groove client. So that's a different one. And we have to look for the other one that comes with the next generation sync client. That's your OneDrive exe, and that will come and will sync with the SharePoint Server 2019 on-premise, or it will serve with all Office 365 document libraries. Also, the document library is protected with IRM or RMS sensitive labels. And therefore, you have to use the right one. Sometimes you have to have two ones or third ones. Therefore, it depends on the operating system. But so we have to say, okay, it's different with all the stuff. You see that in the middle, that's our cloud. That means it comes with Office and SharePoint and document libraries and OneDrive for Business. And you see on the left side, Windows 10, we have Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. We have a web browser. We have iOS and Android. And you have seen Teams. All things together, and they can sync in all different rights. That means from Outlook, from your web browser, that will work between OneDrive for Business and document libraries. And your OneDrive for Business will work with Windows 10. And also you will have a Windows 10 machine that comes with all the stuff. That means, okay, you can have a second OneDrive for Business. Or if you have B2B, you will have this one. And although the thing that also the Office machines can synchronize automatically, you will have that. Although with iOS and Android. So that's a very, very quick overview what you will have. Teams also can sync this stuff. Document libraries, OneDrive for Business, whatever you want. So see, this is not so easy. That was a very, very long, if I do it slowly, we need half an hour, but it's only an overview what you can sync and all this stuff. Architecture and syncing. But sometimes you have some critical numbers. If you have some critical numbers, you have to know them. How many files, how big can the files be, and so on. And therefore, we have to know this critical number. If you have some issues, you have to look first for 300,000. What does it mean? That means the restriction is you can have with all your OneDrive and OneDrive for Business, with all your icons, all the documents are in there, not more than 300,000 documents, files, whatever. Not the handling. You can have handle up to 250 gigabyte one file, but you can also have 250,000 files. And that's the thing. They are not the issue is not the capacity, it's the number of files you have to do that. Where can I read this stuff? There are some restrictions, limitations in OneDrive, not only the 300,000. You see that there are invalid characters you cannot have. There are invalid file and folder names. There are invalid blocked file types. Sharing, how many OneDrive accounts you can have. You to know 9 plus 1, 9 OneDrive for Business and 1 OneDrive Personal. And on all not only restrictions, we have some limitation. File upload size, as I mentioned before, number of items to sync or copy, information rights management, differential sync, and so on. And specific for macOS and so. That means some limitations are there. And also the troubleshooting tips. You have to know. Sometimes you have to look for that. That all things what I have here on this slide are in one page at Microsoft. But first I have to say, how many OneDrive accounts? I have to mention before, 300,000. Or you have to see number of items to sync or copy. If you sync and copy it directly to the web browser, the limit is 100,000 for the first initial one. Therefore, you have to know not so many as you have on your hard disk. Therefore, you have to know that. And also only think what you need. Sometimes it's better to make you think, hey, do I need all this stuff I have on a file server? No. Sometimes you have to know, because syncing, you have to decide what engine will you have. And these restrictions are on this side, restrictions and limitations in OneDrive and SharePoint at Microsoft.com. That's a support article. It's not on docs at Microsoft.com. You find it directly via this link. Later on, you can make a copy of of a QR code and have the slides available right after you make it. That's okay. Here are some limiters. If you have to know that 30 million documents are possible for each document library, 30 million. But the performance decrease if you are more than 100,000 files. Keep in mind these numbers. Then it's there. That's although folder div, you have to know it will be slower if you have more than 7 steps inside the div. There are 300,000 files at all instances, and I also have to say the file length, 250 gigabyte for each file. The file name is attached to 400 characters. On Windows, you have to look for that. And now it's all available. You have a hashtag or a percentage sign in your number of the files in the thing. There is a known now network or map drives available, and you should not authenticate to a proxy. Listen, the new ones are established, but Microsoft says no. And ever you have, if you want a co-author working together on a file, you also have to say not to sign in, check out or check in. That was in the old days. If I have that thing, I have control about the document, I check out the document. But in these days, you should not do that. And we know that you now have IRM, RMS, and what are the security possibilities here in the next generation sync client. You find this available here. And now I want to say, okay, if I have a company and I have so many people and I have to look, how health is my OneDrive? People around the globe say, hey, Hans, we have a little problem about that. Hey, Hans, look for that. And I have one guy from California. He says, okay, I have a problem with I have an iPad and I make a picture on the iPad. And he has to sync to the cloud and then has to sync back to his Windows machine. And it will never happen. First, it will first happen when I reboot the machine. And I say to him, okay, let me talk, how many pictures do you have in this? Is this OneDrive personal? And he says, yes, that are 3,400 files, OneDrive personal. And I say, okay. And how many files do you have in OneDrive for business? And he says, hey, has nothing to do. It's me for pictures. And I have to say, listen, give me the number. And he says 1.3 million. And that was the point. He also says, if I delete one, then the new one will come. Yes, delete is a higher process architecture. That means it will come first, because if we want to work together and I delete the stuff, then you should see it immediately. And then he will also insert it. But the number of files is only available because Microsoft has to say you should also work with Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other programs to handle this stuff. And in the background, he should sync. Therefore, we have 300,000 files. They can, maybe, there is no registry hack, can involve that. Therefore, they build a 64-bit version. This is available now. But the thing is, if you have no process for your work, you have a perfect sync, but cannot work on the machine anymore. So that's a difference we have to know. And sometimes it's although if you have a finish, what can we do? And therefore they built, that's a OneDrive group policy with sync admin reports. Yeah? You have some ducks in there. That is how to establish, and we will see that later on. That's a computer configuration, and the string ID we have to look for that is a sync admin reports, and you have to install it on the machine. You can do that later on. I will show you. So there are some possibilities to have and handle this stuff with an Intune endpoint manager, SCCM, or an endpoint configuration manager, whatever you want to put it. And so you should have all these stuff and put some points for sales or finance or marketing or whatever department you will roll out and will handle that around your globe. It will work also for many, many people. And after that, if you have rolled out the perfect stuff, then you got some messages. Then you see here is the admin center, and you see we have some problems, 3 problems, we will see it later on, and then you can see and handle that. The IT can handle that and can proactive handle to the user and say, you got a problem, you have a problem. But listen, then you can do whatever is done. So here are the settings enablement for all this stuff. That's the site, and I will show you later on when you see some errors or so. Therefore, you have to remember, we see it now live, but also on the slides that you can remember later on what I have to do to handle that. And if I handle an error, it sees although that you handle for this error what you can do, because not all supporters are able to know exactly what is to do. So we want to have it as a thing. And first you have to know if the config, we have to know first also if you want to test it with your machines, you do not have Intune, you do not have a system center, you do not need that. You only need your machine. And that means we have to look, here is my OneDrive. It's on a machine, it's a 64-bit version, and you see it's 22. That's a large number. It's the first sync engine in the insider string. And if you click on that, you find all the languages in there, and you also find ADM. So that is our group policy with each version. A new possibility that you have inside the newest one that will you have on your machine automatically. You do normally, if you only have one machine, you do not need that. But this ADMX file has to be copied from this to the policies definition of Windows. And the ADML is the US ADML file. You have to copy it too. Because I'm from Germany, I also can switch my language, and therefore I have to look for this one. That's a ODMF, ADML. That's a description in Germany. That's the first what you have to do. install the stuff. If you have this installed, you can also open your group policy editor, local, no Intune required, nothing. And you see here the administrate for the computer configuration, here the administrate templates for the user. We want to show it here, and you find it here, the OneDrive. So therefore you have to click on, and you see something is enabled from my side. I have done it. And what we will do is all the sync admin reports. And you see that, and then you see, okay, I need a number. If I do not configure, if I do enable, I need a tenant association key. Where do I found it? It's in the documentation. That's not the thing, but you have to look for that. Means we have to go on this side, configoffice.com, and you see you need a tenant admin to do that first, but then you see on the settings, you see this key. This is the key, you have to copy it and then bring it here inside associations, run it, okay, apply, done. You need that for each machine. If you have a big company, you have to deploy it. But anyway, it will do that, and that's the thing what we have to do. You see, I have although some things for some other group policy I want to have, exclude specific kind of files being uploaded or use OneDrive files on demand always. I cannot disable that. Yes, I can, but normally the users do not can that. Require users to confirm large delete operation or other things what I have. And you see although for the admins, here you have also a user configuration. You can also have, there are also configured team site libraries to sync automatically. And if you have that, you can see what's happened if you see which library will be automatically complete. That's a group policy, and you find a section at the Microsoft site that display most of them perfectly in your language. But if you have installed it, and then later on you see here on the side, that's a preview, and still a preview, that's a health status. And you see, that's an absolutely live health status of my machine I have. 40% of the devices have sync error. And I have to say to Microsoft, that's not correct, because I have several machines that have a little bit special, and that's not only devices. But anyway, you see 20% of devices have the current version. The current version, we have to look for that. And under details, you find all the things we want to have. So all the things, let's give them a chance to put it together. And now you see how many machines I have advice with this group policy. So you see here first the device name, and then you see there's the device 0, Surface 09. That means I count it all together, and I have now more. But anyway, you see this device has an error, and this device, it's the same, has another error. Means, yes, that's 2 instances and not 2 devices. Sometimes it could be happen if you have another instance or another thing, you see that also that you have. There are other things that are green and healthy stats, and you see that's in Windows 10. That's other thing what I have to say, it's not only Windows 10, because this one is Windows 11. But anyway, that's not the problem about that. You see also when was the last sync and when was the last status report. So now we see we have some errors. We can filter now for the errors, or we can look what there. Clicking on the name, and you see we can't reach this library because of a service issue. Restart OneDrive, try again. So tomorrow this is disabled because I checked something, and therefore I have this error. So now I can reach at this time and have to say, hey, Hans, you have a problem. You should do a restart or reboot, and then it will be happen because the service is now available. Then we can see that. Or looking for this one with the error, you see you don't have permission to sync this library. I have some issues with Edge the last 2 weeks, and see that they give not the right information, and I have some permission issue from other people, because I also have syncing some stuff on my machine from other Means if you want to have it from another person, not from me, outside my organization, outside my tenant, he can share the information, put all things in a folder and say, share outside with external. Give me the name, and I can also see that and handle that and put it together on my machine and say syncing on my machine. Means this is the user A has to sync this stuff, and then we will see it will go to the cloud, and the cloud will sync it to my machine directly, and I can open it, and I can also have it available offline. I have mentioned about that. So that's the thing we can see, and we have also some access, and therefore the library, because Office has a little bit problem with the instances of the Office and which one. You don't want to have that function. I tested it on a different ways and so on. You see also here I have a Windows machine. That's a Windows 10 machine, but it's a 32-bit machine. If you have all these things with 32-bit, yes, it will still work. So you see all this stuff. That's the sync engine we can also have. And what do we have here? And you see this item contain characters that are not allowed. Yes, I have done this trick. That's an easy part. You can have that via PowerShell. That's an easy part to make an error that I can show you some errors, because these three will gone in a few hours, because that's the only thing what I have to say. It must be very, very early, and you have to say, okay, I only want to have all devices with errors, and you see, then it's okay. Thinking about big, thinking about 100, thinking about 1,000, thinking about 10 or 100,000 machines, then you can think always only this machine you want to have with the errors, and can proactive as a support people activate and can say, okay, people, you have this error, you find this error. That's OneDrive Think House. I have to speak. And if I speak about that, I have to show you sometimes, because I have not only one cloud. That means, yes, that's my tenant, and that's another tenant, I have to say. They give me a license. I don't need the software because it's there, but I have it also here. Means I have some stuff here from this company, what I have to do. Then I have my OneDrive here. That's my personal OneDrive. But not personal in this one. It's a business. It calls it there. My personal, normally I say to the companies, you should not have that because you cannot control that. That is also possible that you have all this stuff here with the personal, and some other people from external, they want to have me. For example, here, there are Louisa, and Louisa shared me something that's with an external I mentioned before. So therefore, it's here you can handle that and sync whatever you want. So starting back with this one, and let me look, I put it here. So this is a demo, and now we want to have it here. Expiring external access. I mentioned before, expiring external access is a little bit complicated. Normally, I say to the companies, reduce the time. You can have up to 730 days. That is 2 years. But external access to that one, as you take it for share files as an anonymous link, it's not the good one, but you can control that, reducing the time to 30 days or something else. But sometimes people have to work longer than 30 days, and therefore I will show you expiring external access. How does this work? First, anonymous link, we know that the easiest way to share files and folders. Recipients decide who else get access. You can have this and control and send it to other people. Therefore, we have to know who is there. And therefore, you can also have, with several things, set an additional password. So I say for this one, that's MFA for dummies, because you can do it. That even means that the people you have reached, that they have to know the password. And that's the second one, and it's easy to have and handle that one. Means to send a link that works for anyone who has in it. You write it here down, you write the name, you write additional message, press the sync, done. He has the possibility with this link. But you can also have it. It means anonym means a transferable, recoverable secret key can be forwarded to other users. It's revocable. I can say no one longer with you. But anytime I want to do it, and it's a secret key, it means users need the link to gain access. So thinking about that, we can say, here is our company on the left side, and this guy sent a link to the internal guy. He sent a link also to some external people, to one, and he thinks it's to another external people. That means all these people have access, and therefore you should control the time, reduces. Oh, some people say to me, oh, then I do it only for 3 days. Yes, it's a good idea, and you send it on a Friday and will never have access because the other people also have weekend. Oh, yeah, I think 8 days, 10 days is a good thing. If the people do not react and have no time to look for the document you want to exchange, then you have to say, okay, send me another link. That's a good thing to do that. So that's the first thing we have to see. Anonym. And expiring external access will work. Let's say you will have it to cruise control about the site. Site admin can have external access and extend the expiration. It's the IT policy. It's an easy part. Thinking, Elvia Atkins want to have it, expires automatically, let's say after 90 days. If now we have to reduce the time, then the next one will come, and Tim de Boer got the same link, and I said it, okay, it will expire. That's an admin thing, 90 days. I would reduce it, but we take it here in example for 90 days. So now the time has come, and since the day you see, are you sure you want to extend? You see that as a user and see, hey, you want to do the extend the access to the site and have to press yes to extend. That means on the right side, it will extend the next 90 days. Or I have to say, no, I do not want it. So for Tim de Boer, it's the same thing. They want to have it, and I have not extended him. Only Elvia Atkins will have that. So that's a principle about what we can do. Thinking 30 days or 14 days is a short period, but you can have it with different sites, a different period. So that's a different number, and therefore you can handle that in this stuff. And that means something. You see here, I expire in external access. The following two people will have and has to see to me the next 21 days. Sabrina Versuch, 12/11/21, and Dennis Hoppmeyer, and then we see Manage Access. And I press the button, and then you see inside your browser, in your OneDrive, not OneDrive Personal, it's OneDrive for Business. And you see the user's experience 21 days, and I press the Manage button. And then you see this button, he's here, and then you can say, okay, first we want to do that, Sabrina, and we want to say extend or remove. It's an easy part. Are you sure you want to extend that? Yes. So that is all the possibility to have it, and then it's done. So expiring external access will be there. You see that in the new admin center, and they put it together, not separate OneDrive and SharePoint separate. Now they have only one side together. And you see here the both numbers you can have 30 and 30. That's the thing you have to read there and push the data out. The rest is done via PowerShell if you have different times. Maybe for the marketing sites for 60 days, or maybe for the side of finance, only 14 days. So you can handle that whatever you want. Summary. So I have to say summary. What is in the summary? First, you have to have open. Sometimes people have to say, I will not have correctly the updates automatically. Again and again, I have to say, you have to look for this URL I press the button and we got in there, and you see here is the URL we want to have. That's always, Microsoft is still working on the docs at Microsoft.com. Exchange Online we do not have now, it's not interested. Here, SharePoint Online and OneDrive for Business. And if you see required, you should have opened this TCP 44380. That's possible to have to on SharePoint.com or MySharePoint.com, the old My sites. And that means although log optimization and so on, but this only is optional. But here you see one that means WinAMS-Windows.com. It should be, it's a speed up the things. If it's not open, sometimes I forget it. And here, this one, default is also required as GLive.com and one client SFXMS. These two must be opened that you received the thing I have to say to you, means the new versions of OneDrive. If I got a new version, each day is looking. Doesn't it mean all the people in one? No, not all the people in the organization will have it at the same time. Also, if you are sitting behind the desk and the other person will use the same switch and all the things. I got it Monday, he got it Friday. That could be happen. So therefore, they want to not to decrease that the server's going down, and therefore it must be very quick. If you are able and see that in this, that means, okay, there's a new version. It takes some moments. That's a OneDrive exe will come. That's only 47 megabyte or 43 if you have a 32-bit version. And then you see, okay, they run a setup. They disable the old one, and it will start in the morning. They disable the old one, hold down, put all the new stuff, again, with the new group policies, although on your machine, start your machine, and then it's done. On a quick machine, you have an E5 and so on. It takes only a few seconds of this stuff. And then all the stuff will come that you see here, that the OneDrive will available then after you have done that. Windows notification services. I also mentioned that means it's changing from push to pull. It's still got once a week, hey, what can we do to speed up a little bit? And I have to say, look if the thing is open. And VNS, if you can reach VNS-Windows.com, it goes faster. And the people say, oh, I forgot that. We have a new firewall and the security people do not open it. But that's the thing you have to know. Even if you know that I have mentioned before, I cannot change my OneDrive Insider Preview stat. So people have to say, if you are there, you can normally click on that and you got the new versions. If you do not want to have it, people say, oh, I do not want to have it here. That means, okay, that's not a good thing. Therefore, I say you cannot change it. That's the same thing with files on demand. If you have files on demand and you do not want that the people came in trouble because they want to have all the files with you, you should do it differently. But anyway, there are some group policies that could handle that stuff too. So if you have an insider version, Microsoft is not available anymore since April last year for the insider versions. But you find under this link the insider version. So from Monday or Tuesday, I have to look for that. That was on Tuesday. I found the new version. That's the first version of 2022. And you see there start the beginning. That's an insider version. And you can also, if you want to do it manually and you have to receive, if you want to test some stuff with a new one, then you can see that. The other ones, there are still insider versions, and here it was an insider version at November, at the end of November. That's the version 21230, and you mean that's the released version in the production ring. If you're in a company, there most of the people has to be the release version of a production ring. If you scroll down, and that's a long list, you will also have the enterprise or deferred version. That means you can have an old version and not so many changes. So Microsoft has to say, okay, if all releases are there, because if they want to change something on the server side, they want to have it on the client side too. And that means it can take a little bit while. That's the thing. But some recommendation also then to use where we have to look. So first you have to look for the community blog. So that's a news one inside the new files on demand experience of Mac OS. If you got a Mac, you can handle that. And also you can handle with ARM devices in a public preview. That means in December they came for Mac, although that you can handle this stuff. That means this blog is for several people. You have to read the stuff from Microsoft. It's not so often, but you can have to read it for this one. On the other side, I also write some articles. You can look at it later, and you have to look, and that is new. There might be a new build of this. Then I have to say, okay, I only have to switch and have to say I want to see in development and rolling out now, not launched. Means you see all the versions, and I say only OneDrive. Even if you go to Microsoft Stream, you see there are several things that it has to be for DoD or something. That means special ones that will be available in 2022. Although you see they want to have organized add to OneDrive shortcut that will come in February, global available or general available. Means now you have OneDrive, add to OneDrive, add a shortcut to OneDrive, and can organize these steps in another folder. And that will come in February. Many people that say, okay, it's a good organization with this shortcut that can reduce, that can reduce the amount of files. Yes, add to OneDrive is a perfect answer, but I want to organize it a little bit better. You can rename these shortcuts. That's okay. That's a very good, interesting. But also I want to have these many shortcuts of my company and want to organize it in another folder. That will come in February. So you see, there will come a lot of things, sometimes small, sometimes more. And therefore, it's a good thing you can handle that and see what's coming up. If you are interested, you should also have and install the OneDrive first version. That means if you have it installed, you are the first one and can test it also available. I only have one version I have had. In the beginning, they want to have it on my machine. That is a Windows 11 machine. In the beginning, means 1.5 years, that I have 1 week on this machine with one of the insider version cannot work. Otherwise, it's perfectly in work, but you got many updates each week that will come with a new one. But they do it also different on December because they say, okay, no trouble for new versions because on December, although the Microsoft people has to be holidays. Yes, that's a perfect what you have to see. So coming to the end, and I have to say, hey, one more thing. So we know this is not my words, that's Steve Jobs' words, but I have to say, okay, I have a session in 2 hours again at 6 o'clock, if I know it perfectly. I have to look. I do not know it exact. Now we have a keynote and I will have it at 11 a.m. at your time in US, or here in Europe, we have it in a different one. In US, we have it. That means we have a session about development. So I spoke about, you can handle and send me questions. I will look if it's not too much. But sometimes it's easier part to ask a bot. And the community bot for OneDrive, it runs in Teams. You can ask him. That's a digitized project, and you can handle that. What problems we have, it runs in Teams like a bot. You ask him, you can quark him around the globe. It's available. It costs nothing. It's a community project. And that means if it's only have my knowledge and the knowledge of docs.microsoft.com. So sometimes I have to say, okay, you ask that, here you have the right answer. With pictures, with all them, that's on the Teams App Store. If you are not able to handle that in the Teams App Store, you have to say, okay, hey, administrator, I want to have the community bot, check it out. It runs there. And that we want to talk about that. But sometimes it's in German and in English. We still have slightly problems because I'm a little bit formatting, and that's in Markdown. we will talk about later in the second session. But sometimes the people have to say, hey, we are not able to reach it in a Teams app store. It's not allowed that we have to install it. The administrator say, no, 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 but you can handle it also. We make another version for that, the community bot for OneDrive. It's now available at the web chat bot. Here you find the link, give him a question, check your the question, the language we have to there, because you have it also, and check the language and ask him whatever you want. He also knows about the newest OneDrive possibilities, and therefore I have to look for that. No, not for that. I want to have it here. Okay. OneDrive bot. Let me look what has happened. Oh, bit.ly OneDrive bot. Do I mention it right? I have no idea. Let me look. OneDrive bot. It should be available, but you can also look for the community bot for OneDrive. I mentioned, anyway, it will work. Let me, if it's only the problem for that, it will run outside this one, and that will go. So, back to the feedback slides. On the left side, the normal feedback, you want to have it. That's for today, the feedback, and for all other feedbacks, make a picture. If you want to have the slides, take your camera or put it in https bit.ly at OneDrive 220114, and you got this slide deck immediately. And then I have to say, okay. If you have made the pictures, I have to say, okay, goodbye for the next. No, there is a raffle at the end of the day. So therefore, it's possible for you to handle that. And if you see that, yeah, you can handle that. If you are hashtagging with M365G22, then you are getting some prizes. Amazon gift cards, 5 winners with $100, 2 winners with $250, and we can all win a Xbox One for attendee. Perfect. I am not available. Perfect. Okay. Anyway, I want to say thank you for you, and have to say thank you all. Here again, my social contacts. You can handle me. And I have to say, I wish you a nice day, and I have to look for the questions. Is there? Bit.ly says, okay, yes, that's okay. We'll try that again. We have sometimes that's a HTTPS. Maybe that's a thing we want to have. Perfect. That's me, and that's a community bot. And I can say, type your message, the newest OneDrive. There is AI involved, and you see there is a new versions of all the stuff with 32 and 64-bit. That's a version we have. You also see some other stuff, but that is another session, and we'll tell you how does it build, how do we do that in a 2 years project, and what we do for quality services. Thank you so much, and have a lot of fun during the rest of the day. Bye.